Hello everyone, it's John Cope again, and we're in the build room at Cope Racing Transmissions. Welcome to our YouTube channel, or if you might be seeing this on our website. Today I am going to bring you another build. This build is a 47RH that we're going to turn into a 49RM. What's a 49RM? Well, the 47RH, if you guys never knew what some of those numbers stand for, the 4 means 4-speed, the 7 means the torque range, the R means it's rear drive, and the H means it's hydraulic. So I'm going to turn this into a 49RM. Still a 4-speed, the power level will be 9, and the RM will stand for reverse manual. We're going to put a reverse manual transmission in this, but before we get into the build, let me tell you a little bit about this truck. This truck is owned by Will Peterson. Will's a local guy here well, we're in Lowell, Indiana. I'm not exactly sure, but he's pretty close. Will has a 1997 Chevy 3500, but it has a 12-valve 5.9 Cummins. There's nothing wrong with swapping Mopar motors and Chevys. Just to give you a little bit of rundown on what this truck's got for power, he's got a P7100 injection pump with 4,000 RPM governors. He's running a Borg-Warner 475 compound turbos. He's got other things like an AirDog fuel pump that has a billet timing cover. He put billet freeze plugs in, big deal. Adjustable timing gear. He does run a Goran triple disc torque converter, and those are real nice converters. I like those. We're going to stay with the same converter. And before he did the Cummins swap on this, it had a 6.5 diesel and a 4L80E. So now it's going to have a 49RM for reverse manual. Will takes this truck a lot to the sand dunes at Silver Lake, which I hear is great. Got great camping facilities, both at the national park there and at the little mom and pop organizations or campgrounds. I got that on my list this year to go to Silver Lake. So if any of you guys have been there and you got some tips or whatever to tell me about what's going on at Silver Lake, just leave it down in the comments. So we got the transmission all prepped. Everything's been cleaned, hot tanked, and whatnot, and I'm going to go over the list of parts that's going in this build and get the up-close view with the camera and show you guys what's going in this, what I'm calling a 49RM. It's a 47RH, but it's going to be it's going to be a lot stronger. So let's go do that now. What we have, when I do a build, I always do the transmission case first. I assemble everything that goes in the transmission, the servos, the seals, the accumulator, and so I'm going to discuss what's going in this transmission as far as servos and levers. So we're going to start off with the servo, and we're going to talk about the low reverse servo. Here we have the factory servo, and we have my CRT billet servo, and I'm going to show you a few differences and why I like to use these over the factory ones. Probably the most important is the return spring. This is going to get a trans brake valve body in reverse pattern, so it's going to have the low band apply in first gear, which means the low reverse band will be on in first gear, and then needs to be shut off quickly because in second gear the front band comes on. So one of the nice things, or one of the more important things about getting a clean 1-2 shift when you're running low band apply valve bodies is the spring. As you can see, the spring is much stronger than the factory spring. And what that's going to do is that's going to shut off first gear a lot quicker and give you a nice clean 1-2 shift. When you go to a bigger spring, the factory retainer becomes an issue because it's too thin. So my retainer for the billet servo, I hope I can focus this in good, is thicker than the factory one. So there's the second benefit: thicker retainer and a stronger spring. Then what I did was on these servos, as all my low reverse servos, they're a one-piece design. This is really a two-piece servo because you got the plunger part here held in by a snap ring. And cast pistons, these are cast, and so is this, have a tendency of cracking under high pressure. So once we go to a one-piece solid billet aluminum, that eliminates the possibility of the piston cracking. And a lot of times they crack right around where the snap ring goes right here. So that's the benefit of having a low reverse billet servo kit, the one that I make. And just for you guys at home that maybe used my 47 or 48 RE servo kit, unlike the factory spring that will go in either way, it fits either way, my spring only fits in one way. So you can't put it this way, it has to go in that way. So just a little tip. So that's the low reverse servo. He already had a Gorin billet accumulator. No, this is actually from somebody else. SC, I don't know who that is. But it's a dual ring with a Teflon sealing ring on one end and then a D-ring rubber seal on the other. So I'm going to reuse this. They put that in there with the cushion spring that goes underneath. With my Transbrake valve body, we eliminate these, and I put in a blocker rod. I do sell my own billet accumulators that include the blocker rod built into the piston, or you can get it without. So there's nothing wrong with this. It's already billet, it's already dual ring. So we're going to go ahead and reuse this, but we're going to not use the spring. Then the front servo, I don't know where my spring went, but it's a single spring. Chrysler used the same servo. The single spring big pin servo, because of the size of the pin. This is why I call it a big pin. These came out in '71. From 1962 to 1970, Chrysler had a dual spring servo kit. And this is I wouldn't say reproduction, but this is a servo made off of Chrysler's 1962 to 1970 front servo, which consists of the servo piston, 2 springs, a servo cover, and the rod. This would be considered the small rod servo. And so this is our billet version of Chrysler's servo. We went ahead and made it a dual ring on the servo piston, and of course it's made from a one-piece of billet aluminum instead of cast. 2 brand new springs, a brand new apply rod, and a cover that has an O-ring on the inside. And we got these really nice sealing rings. I'm going to try to get a little bit closer. That once it's in the case is a total seal. So there's normally third gear oil between here and here. That's why a lot of people put O-rings there. So we incorporated an O-ring on ours, and the total seal sealing ring, so it won't leak while it's in the case. So the reason why I prefer 2 springs over 1 is for shift timing going into 3rd gear. With the single spring, once you start going to higher lever ratios to 4.2, 4.4, or 5.0 lever ratios, these are the levers. If you're not careful, you can get overlap. And overlap is when you can feel the vehicle nose down a little bit and then pick up speed when shifting from 2nd to 3rd. And what that's from is from the 2nd gear band being applied and not shutting off quick enough, and the front clutch coming on while the band is still on, and you feel that little nosedive of the vehicle going down. On diesels and some high-powered cars in the full throttle, you can power through it, but it's not good for the transmission because you're wearing out the band sooner than what you really should be. So you can run a higher lever ratio, but you got to compensate for it. You have to put more spring pressure in here to shut this off quicker, and that allows you for a cleaner shift. Then by slowing the front clutch pack down by putting 15 springs in that front drum, that shift timing comes up real good. Have you ever seen the red servos that Brand X makes, and they're smaller diameter here, and they have you put in a sleeve right here? That servo, you're just asking for band overlap. You're just asking. So whenever I get one of those that come in, I take it out. I've argued with people about that, and I'm not going to go into it, but it is just, you know, these transmissions, just the way they're designed, have a kind of an issue with the overlap. That red servo that you put in there is just going to make the overlap worse. So I never ever do that. So there's our billet servo, dual ring, dual spring, and with the O-ring in the cover. This is a real nice piece. I'm going to add that to this transmission. He already had a Goran lever in here. It's a 3/8 lever, and it sure looks to be casted to me. It's a nice lever. There's nothing wrong with it. But with my valve bodies and the way I set up my spring pressure in the servo and the spring pressure in the front drum, I prefer a 4.2 lever. This had no indication, no marking on it. It was a 3/8. I mocked it up with the 3/8 levers I had. So it's a 3/8 lever. Our levers are marked 4.2, 5.0, and it has our logo on it. So we're going to go from the cast 3/8 lever to a billet 4.2 lever. He already had a thicker heavy-duty band strut, and he already had, this is not billet, but he does have a thicker band anchor. There's really nothing wrong with this. This is not billet either, but this is definitely much stronger than stock. So we're going to just go ahead and stay with these items here. I already studded the transmission case. I don't know if you can see that. I already put the studs in. So now I'm going to go ahead and assemble everything into the transmission case, and then I'm going to go to the overdrive unit.
Cited in this report, if true, what needs to happen?
All right, now it's time to assemble the overdrive unit. I've already put the bushings in. I got the updated snap ring right here. It's going to go in there. The sprag was good, so we're going to reuse it. The 5-pinion steel planetary was in good shape. When you do these, any RE overdrive transmissions, no matter if it's a 46, 7, or 8, you really want to pay close attention to inside the teeth on the overdrive sun gear. they have a big issue with them pitting. Once they start pitting, then they'll take out the rest of the overdrive unit. So when we get the clutches, the overdrive direct clutches, which are new, they've been soaking in transmission fluid for 15 minutes. I let them drip dry. I got new seals for the overdrive direct clutch, and we'll start putting this thing together. Oh, it's going backwards. I always put that on backwards because the 727, the snap ring land goes up, and the overdrives, the snap ring land goes down. So I make that mistake all the time. But I catch it before it goes back together. This is the output shaft. And this is the wrong snap ring. Here's the snap ring that holds the bearing on the output shaft. This is the four-wheel drive output shaft. Alright, that's on there. I'm going to reposition this camera so you guys can see a little bit better. Then we're going to put the overdrive annulus on. It's always easy, you have to tap it on. There's a snap ring that holds that on. So there's that. Next is the sprag and sprag hub. It gets a bearing put on it. Use a little trans gel. Then I use my tool to insert it. Then you want to get the two flimsy snap rings. Put the drum on. You have to put the bottom snap ring on first. After I get it in all the way. Let's see. There it goes. Put the snap ring on the top. You know what? I don't have it in all the way. Something's stopping me. Oh, not in all the way. Let's see, what is it? Ow. I'll take it out.
Five hours later.
So that top snap ring's in.
Oh, you're talking to yourself.
No, I'm talking to the camera. But now I gotta edit it because of you. It's no big deal. So now I got this snap ring in. It's time for the front planetary. I already checked to make sure that all the pinions were good. Then the sun gear, which has the new bushings in it already. Well, the sun gear is not new. It's the same sun gear, but it was inspected. Bushings are in. Then you take this Hemi valve spring, put that in there. Oh, there's one thing I do too. I like to go crazy heavy and lube this line. Every once in a while, I have an issue. Well, it doesn't go on nice and smooth, and it kind of like broaches this inside piece a little bit, and it's not supposed to, and it leaves little chips that come out of it. So I don't like when that does that. So I put a lot of lube on there so it slides on there nice and easy. Like so. Then I stick the tool in there. See how it's going faster than I'm spinning it? That's the overdrive ratio. And then it locks the sprag another way. Then these smaller overdrive clutches are called the overdrive direct. And we're going to put those on. Like so. And it goes steel clutch like every other transmission. There's a pressure plate on the top, a pressure plate on the bottom, and then 2 snap rings go on there to hold it together. See? It's not that hard. It's just a mechanical piece. Don't be afraid to do it yourself. So there's that. Here's our new snap ring. Nope, this ain't it. I grabbed the wrong one off the shelf. I have to go get the new wavy snap ring that goes in here. And then we're going to go to the press and press this down. I have other videos of me pressing it. There's really nothing technical about that. So off to the press we go. Alright, just got back from the press and the overdrive unit is now assembled. What we're going to do is put the overdrive unit into the tail housing. Before I do that, I want to let you guys know that this was an RH. An RH uses a governor and the governor receiver with the tubes that go in the tail housing. Since this transmission is going to be a reverse manual, the hydraulic part of this is no longer needed. And this is reciprocating weight. So we're going to leave the governor out of the transmission and we're going to remove the governor tubes, and I'm not even sure what we call that. Governor receiver groover holder thingy. So we're going to remove that from the tail housing. The assembly from here on out, putting the overdrive unit in the tail housing is really no big deal. Like I said, this has already been to the press. Everything is put together with the overdrive direct clutches, the new bushings, and everything is all assembled. So I'm just going to take the overdrive unit or the tail housing and go over it. And I have a tool down here that's holding this off the workbench for me. See if I can back up a little bit. See if that doesn't help you guys. And just hit the snap ring. So the overdrive section is now in the tail housing. And we'll get a little bit close up on here for you. And I'll focus. Now what we're going to do is put the overdrive clutches in it. We're using Colleen steels, 5 Colleen steels, and Raybestos GPZ overdrive clutches. They've already been soaked in the fluid for 15 minutes. But before that clutch pack goes in, there's 2 snap rings. There's a flat and a wave. And the wave is kind of to cushion the overdrive shift. Let's see if I can hold it this way. In a performance transmission, we don't want no cushion. So what I do is I discard the wavy and I buy another flat and I use 2 flats. So we'll go ahead and put the 2 snap rings in to the receiver groove. There's 1. Here's 2. And then our overdrive clutches. The first thing that's going to go in is the pressure plate because it's opposite of the piston. The piston is in the transmission case and is what applies this clutch pack. These GPZ clutches are some really good clutches. I've had great results from using them. It's been a couple years now since the Ray Besses came out, these clutches, and I use them on everything. I stopped using the red clutches. These are so good. Not only that, I had troubles finding the red clutches in quantities. We go through so many clutches every year. We had an issue getting them. Good, our clearance is right where it is. This really wimpy snap ring. I know you're like, that's a snap ring, and it is. It just holds the clutches in there while you do the assembly. So there it is. There's the overdrive section. It's all together. And now I'll go eat my lunch and do the transmission. we just finished the valve body. The valve body is a billet trans brake for a 47 or 48. Actually, it makes it a 49 now. With lockup, this is the street version. It has 2 lockup solenoids to activate the lockup. You can turn that on in any gear. This is the trans brake solenoid. To turn on, you apply the brake in neutral to get reverse. These brass fittings on there, have on here are for the dump system. This truck is not going to need a dump system, but I incorporated all the pressure taps to put in the lines if needed for it. Since this is a 49RH now, it's got the 3-pin connector, and we're going to set this up probably about 180 psi. I normally go 200, but he's got a stock rear drum and a stock front drum, so the issues with too high of pressure sometimes will blow out the rear drum. So we're just going to put that at about 160 or 180 psi. Also going in Will's truck, when this originally came in, the reason why he brought it to us because he stripped out the front planetary. 47s have 5-pinion aluminum planetaries, so we're going to replace that 5-pinion aluminum with a 5-pinion steel. I probably could put a 6-pinion in it, but for what this gentleman does and how he drives, I believe the 5-pinion will be efficient. I also noticed that he had an aftermarket 6-pinion aluminum rear planetary, because to my knowledge Chrysler never made a 6-pinion aluminum. They only made a 6-pinion steel. And I can see a part number on here, which Chrysler never put part numbers on their planetaries. Not like that. When they do, they cast the part number in. This one looks etched in or printed on. So this surface, which rides in the rear annulus right here, got tore up pretty bad. So I'm probably going to save this, put it in our inventory, and then machine it down for bearings and repurpose it. So I did have a 6-pinion 48RE Chrysler planetary on the shelf. So for this instance, we're going to put the 6 in the rear and 5 in the front. Also, which is kind of common on some diesels, the rear annulus or the rear ring gear is spot welded by Chrysler in a few of these spots. It's a 2-piece that they weld together, and they have a tendency of breaking under torque. Not so much horsepower, because I've never seen it blow in a gas motor, but under torque they can break these welds. So we take that rear annulus and weld all the way around complete so that doesn't break. So that's going to be an upgrade. So that's what his planetary is going to be upgraded to. He already has a hardened input shaft and hub, so we're going to go ahead and upgrade it to a hardened intermediate shaft. I think this will definitely strengthen it up a little bit. I think he uses this truck primarily to go on the sand dunes in Michigan, and so I don't think he's going to need an output shaft either. We're not going crazy on this one particular build, but we are making some upgrades to this. Another thing I wanted to show you, I'd show you his stripped out aluminum planetary, but he took it with him and hung it up on his wall of shame at the house, so, or in his garage. So I can't show you the broken part, but I can show you this part that was in there. If you notice how low the snap ring land is here, this is actually a 3-disc clutch. It only takes 3 clutches. So we put a 4-disc in it, but then I used 5 thin clutches, so you can fit 5 clutches in a 4-disc front drum. So we upgraded that. New washers throughout, new bushings throughout, and the case. Oh, there we go. The case is already prepped and ready to go. The overdrive is done. The valve body's done. Everything is done for final assembly, and we're going to do that now. Okay, got the transmission assembled, and I just set the band adjustments on the double rep band for either 904s or 48 REs. The adjustment is 72 inch-pounds, back off 3 turns. If it was a 727, you back off 2 1/4 turns. And the front band is a stock adjustment at 72 inch-pounds, back off 2 turns. So I usually go 2 1/4 turns. And so what I'm going to show you guys how to do is air check a 47 RE or 48 or 46.